In three, two, one. Check one, two, check one, two. What's good, everybody? It's your boy DH. We are live. We want to apologize for the inconvenience. We're still learning. This podcasting is a brand new thing for myself and my co-host Chuck. Chuck, he said he will be on a little bit later, so we're just gonna get going. We don't want to keep anyone waiting. We got Mr. Darius Alexander in the building. And so, what I wanted to do before we get into the actual conversation, we wanted to play this video. And the reason why I was like, yo, I got to get D back on again. We got to have a conversation and talk about this. So, we're going to bring a quick vid to you guys from Mr. Darius. And it's called My Reality is Not Your Reality. Is that correct?
I think it's Your Reality Ain't My Reality. I don't know. I just came up with a name real quick.
All right, so we're gonna play this quick vid for you guys, and hopefully it works. Because now I'm looking for it and I don't see it. Hold up one second. Let me make sure I got it up and running, ready to go. All right, here it is. And also, if you're watching right now, please make sure you guys share this. We want to try to get this out to everybody, all of our friends and colleagues that are excited and amped up to see this interview. Go ahead and share it to your friends. It's going to be a good one today. So let's get into.
I figured while I'm sitting here looking presidential, so fresh and so clean, I might as well talk to the people for a little bit. There's so much divisiveness going on in our country right now. I'd be lying to you if I said it'd make me tear up sometimes, if I didn't get frustrated, if I wasn't pissed off sometimes. There's so much injustice that's still going on in our society today. It's easy to write it off. It's easy to sit on our own beliefs and believes that that's the reality for everybody else around us. It's easy to find a social media page. It's easy to find an article. It's easy to find a friend, your mama, your cousin, your auntie, whoever, to believe in what you believe in. That still does not make it the reality for the next person. I ain't ever walked in nobody else's shoes. And ain't nobody ever gonna walk in my size 8.5. I'm still a grown man, don't trip. Your reality is not my reality. My reality does not have to be your reality. I've always been somebody that believed in talking and having a conversation. If we want to grow, we got to learn how to talk respectfully. We can disagree and still make progress. We can disagree and still disagree after the conversation and move along and keep it pushing. There's absolutely nothing wrong in that. We don't have to change each other's opinion. It's about growing as individuals. It's about growing as a society. It's about growing as a country. That's how we move the needle. I'll share a story with you real quick. I did a show up in Seattle one time. When I got done doing the show, I walked up to the bar and I asked the man sitting at the bar, he's an older white man, I asked him, what's he drinking? He said, I don't talk to niggas. Then, my reply was, that's cool. My name is Darius. You might as well go ahead and drink this beer because I'm going to buy this pitcher anyway. I bought the pitcher. I poured the man a glass, and I just started talking. And for a while, I was talking to a brick wall. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I just kept talking. Eventually, that man started talking back. We ended up talking for about an hour and a half. In that hour and a half, we talked about our family. We cracked some jokes. And at the end of the conversation, I asked the gentleman, why was that your initial response to me when I walked up to you? And what he said was, that's what his daddy taught me. Look, I lost my dad when I was young. That's part of my story. What his dad taught him was part of his story. The thing I take the most pride in is being a father myself. Who am I to disrespect somebody else's father? That's what I told the man. But then I asked the question. I'm not going to disrespect where he came from or how he was raised, but I asked him the question of what if we taught our kids something different? What if we tried to give something different to the next generation so that that's not their reply? I can't lie, I walked away with a lot of respect for the man because what he said was, I can't promise that that'll never be my response again, but I can promise you that I'll try. See, the more we come together, the more we respect each other, the more progress we'll see. It's your boy.
Yes. Let me get this off real quick, y'all, because Lord knows I will keep going and you guys will hear all kinds of sounds in the background and be wondering what's going on. We got Chuck in the building. He made it.
Yeah, you know what? You're not gonna believe it, man. As soon as I got off of the line with you,
Yeah.
they knocked on the door and they came in and put some type of gadget on the internet thing there.
Oh, you was having issues with the internet or something?
No, I wasn't, and they said it was like a booster or something, and they hooked it to the little Ethernet area over there. But yeah, as soon I was like, oh my God, can this get any worse? Darius, pleasure, my man. I'm sorry, but that was like the third time I saw that video. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. But that video to me, I really wanted to touch on that first and foremost, because when I seen it first, it was everything that I've ever known about you as an individual. Besides the fact that you were one of the most well put together artists when we did music. You were the type of artist that I gravitated to because number one, you didn't curse for one, and all of your raps didn't always have to do with uh popping guns and picking up all the girls and whatnot. Yeah, we had songs like that, but you had so much more content to your repertoire that you was like a to me you was like a Washington's version of Ludacris, because Ludacris talked dirty, but then he spit that knowledge as well. And so for me, that's why I really gravitated to you to begin with. But once I got to know you on a personal level and a lot of things you were doing outside of music, it was like, yo, I really look up to this guy, even though I'm taller and older. And so the video, it just spoke volumes. And I just wanted to touch on that. What made you go ahead and put something like that together?
Um, First of all, it's like that's just something I believe. That's how I live, anyways. But with COVID and being home a lot more and stuff, it ain't nothing. There's not a lot to do. So I scroll Facebook a lot, and you just see people going at each other. And then, in all honesty, I was just super disappointed with a lot of the people I grew up with and some of the things I saw from this area. People who in your face were real cool, and I'm not knocking them or anything like that, but it was just all the aggressiveness and you're the worst person in the world because you don't agree with me. That's just something I don't believe in. I respect where everybody comes from. So I was just like, I was working. I had to do some videos for some elementary schools. That's why I had on the suit and stuff on the top half was probably my drawers on the bottom half. So I was already recording. I was just like, man, this is what I'm feeling right now. Cause I'm hot and I need to get it out some kind of way. I ain't doing shows no more. There ain't no Tacoma domes to go speak at right now. You know what I mean? So like, use the platforms that you have. So that's where it came from.
Yeah. And when you first did it, did you realize how major it would be? Like how people would, because I've listened to it probably 7, 8 times, and to me it speaks volumes, about exactly what is happening in this world and what needs to happen moving forward. We have to change our thought process and not allow everybody to feel a certain type of way about me being different or that person being a different size, shape, color, or sexual preference, whatever the case may be. We got to learn to just build unity and love one another for who we are, regardless of our differences. You know what I'm saying? And so, did you realize how major something like that would be?
Nah, I just always go with what's on your heart. Like whatever God puts on your heart, put it out there. And I think going back to like our music days, like my very first show was in a garage with like 6, 7 people, some recliners, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just in that moment was always 2 or 2,000, 20,000, doesn't matter what God puts on you. You just go do it. And if it reaches somebody, it reaches somebody. If not, it don't. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Going back, I'm gonna go back a little further because I like to. Anytime I do an interview with somebody, I always want to kind of get an idea of their upbringing. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't meet back in the day. You know, we met more. I think we met around 2006, somewhere around that time. But your upbringing, can you talk to us a little bit about your upbringing, with your family or whatnot?
Yeah, I'm from originally from Florence, South Carolina. I'm an Army brat, so we the only place I really remember is living in Germany, and then we moved here, moved to Lacey for a while, and then we moved down to Spanaway in '87. So
Hmm.
from South Carolina, I hold on to that because that's how I was raised. My parents didn't do a lot of socializing or anything like that, so it's still
Hmm.
like being raised with those Southern values, but grew up out here in the Northwest. Super loving family. Like my mom was always the nurturer, my rock, everything like that. My dad was
Yeah.
the disciplinarian, but also the rock of our family also.
Yeah.
But being a soldier, like you don't really notice it until, well, my dad died when I was 17. And I don't think I really noticed how much he was gone until I got a little bit older. You know what I mean? You start counting those years. So as a soldier, like you're in the field, he did a couple tours where it'd be like 9 months at a time, a year at a time. But the
Yeah.
cool thing was like his lessons were always with us. And I remember one time me and my younger brother were in the bed with my mom and we're hitting each other over her. So we're fighting over her, and then my dad calls. And as soon as he gets on the phone, I mean, he's I think he was in Germany or something like that. As soon as he gets on the
Yeah.
phone, I just start crying and automatically start thinking, I'm gonna get a whooping when he gets back. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
like that kind of vibe of still feeling his presence. We've just always been a close family, ride for each other. Uh, that's pretty much the core of it.
Let me ask you something too, Darius. I don't think we've ever even talked about this in the many, many conversations we've had in our lives, as long as we've known each other. But did you ever experience any type of racism coming up, as far as from your family coming from from there to here? Did you experience any of that when you guys got to Washington?
Yeah, I think the very first time that I can remember is when I was 5 and we were moving up here, and we were on a bus. So it was me, my
Mhm.
mom, and my younger brother, and we were on a bus moving up here. And then we get to a bus stop in some city, and we're getting off, and the guy behind us tells my mom that she got some good little pickaninnies. And so in my mind, I'm just like, oh, thanks, that's cool. And then my mom lost it. My mom went off. My mom was one of the militant type in the civil rights era, and she never let go of that. So
Yeah.
like, I remember my mom just going off on the dude, and then I'm like, he gave us a compliment. What are you upset about? And then when she explained to me that that's what they call slave children, right?
Oh wow.
That's what I first remember. My first incident with it. I was just my mom took a lot of time to educate me on Black history and our culture and where we come from. So I think I
Mhm.
was always aware of it. But I mean, there's always little things. And even if people ain't coming out and just calling you a nigger to your face or whatever it was, it's like getting followed in the stores or being labeled as a gangbanger and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
just there's so many different situations like that have happened.
Yeah.
I think the most major ones that have impacted my adult life is when I went to college. And there's two sides of it. By the
Mhm.
time I got to college, I was already so aware of what was going on in the world that I was now super militant and standoffish, and I wanted to protect myself, right? So you go into like coping mechanisms. And I
Mhm.
remember I was like, I'm going to POU. I grew up around here. I kind of know the demographics of POU. So I expected in my mind
Yeah.
for people to hate me off the bat, for people to just think I was a thug right off the bat. So I ain't gonna lie, I dressed the part. Like I had
Yeah.
on, Tacoma discount. I used to get
Yeah. All day.
I got my big old FUBU jersey. I
Yeah.
think I borrowed some of my boy JT's pants. JT's like 6'2". I'm like 5'4", so I borrowed his pants. They were huge. I had on baseball gloves. I
Yeah.
had on shades. I had on my bandana like Tupac. And I walked into my dorm and I was like, hey, I'm gonna give these people what they expect. And I walked in and then I met my boy Nick and his family. Like his dad shook my hand, his girlfriend gave me a hug, his mom gave me a hug, he dapped me up. I looked over his bed and he had a poster of Africa and Bob Marley.
Mhm.
I'm sitting there and I was like, what the hell? This is not what I was expecting exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that part was on me of not giving people a chance, right?
Mhm.
And fast forward, I got stopped the first 4 weekends I was on campus by the police or
Oh
campus
yeah.
and asked what I was doing here. And I'm like, man, I got scholarships paying for this. My scholarships are probably paying your salary, yet I'm getting stopped every single weekend.
Yeah.
Uh, Going to parties, that was rough. Um, I remember the very first party got called nigger, porch monkey, all this kind of stuff. So then I just started taking my boys with me to every party. I was like, I am not gonna be the only Black dude at these parties anymore because this
Right.
is still what's happening. So those are the most profound things. I could go on, but
Right.
biggest thing that I learned in that is my mom wanted me to leave and go to an HBCU or something like that down south. And so we met with the school president and everything of student life. My stance on it was I'm not leaving. First, because maybe I can make some kind of change. The other part was I understand that this is the real world. I
Yeah.
understand that I got to go into the workforce someday, and I'm probably going to be one of a few as far as where my aspirations were going. You know what I mean? I was trying to make money and climb the ladder, whatever field I went into. So I knew most likely people aren't going to look like me. So I wanted to learn how to navigate those systems by standing up for myself in a professional way where you can make change.
Uh, Darius, so can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So one of the things, just a comment in regards to the video that I saw of you. What I liked about the video was I think it had the incident that took place was a very common incident. You know, a lot of times when people are using a personal experience or something like that as an example or a statement to say that they need change or we need change in a particular area, it's usually something like really big, you know, like a pandemic or something to that extent, you know. But those are things that happen to people once in a lifetime. But the incident of you just coming across another person and having just a simple greeting and dialogue, that's something that we all go through every day. So, you know, I've had so many of those types of experience just as yourself, you know, and I walked away from it, you know, either learning something. I mean, it really expanded my intellect, but it was just a small incident. So it wasn't nothing that I could, you know, wave the banner for and say, hey, check out what just happened to me. So that's what I really liked about that. You had a very eloquent way of talking about everyday experience and how we should look beyond just what's happening right there and get some understanding about each other and different things. And so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
There's
for
not
sure.
many people that can express things in that manner.
For sure.
Appreciate that.
So, real quick, I don't know if you noticed, we got a guest that kind of jumped on. Uh, we didn't actually get into the conversation yet, but I wanted to surprise you with a couple, a couple people from where we met. I actually met you in the music scene, and I wanted to bring on my good friend, your good friend, our good friend Alex, just to come on and say hello and talk about that life and just chop it up with us, because I know we haven't seen each other in years, lots and lots of years. And so I wanted to just bring him on and kind of surprise you and just chop it up a little bit. So what's going on, Alex? You there?
David, what's up, man? What's going on? What's
Man,
going on, family?
We here. We got Mr. Darius and AP in the building. And
Hey.
for I wanted AP to come on because to me, I think I wanted to just talk a little bit more about you from his perspective.
Hey, how you doing, AP?
I'm fantastic. I'm doing all right.
David ain't gonna.
I apologize, Chuck. Man.
David ain't gonna let me say hi. Or
a lot going on, right? A lot going on.
What up, Chuck?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Hey, I feel like I'm in Rome, man. You got Darius Alexander, and then you got Alex Matthews. You know, us sophisticated people get that joke. Don't worry about it.
but I apologize for that, Chuck. But
all right, we good, bro.
Chuck's my side. He's my sidekick. We get this done together. But that's
a step up from down low.
We're not saying the down low today. We're trying to stay away from that. All men's up in here. Let's keep it professional.
And some sidekicks.
But anyways, like I was saying, it was probably around 2006 where we did a show together. I think we was at probably Pounders or one of those places, when I first started doing my individual thing. And I met you guys together. And I remember I asked you, Darius, if you guys could be a part of my CD release party. Remember we did out at the Furwood. Yeah. And all you guys came out and performed. And I think that's where we really blossomed as friends. T.K.O. and DH was doing shows all over the place after that. But AP, I wanted to get your opinion, your thoughts on this guy, Darius. What kind of relationship you guys have, and what you remember about that whole upbringing. I mean, I don't know how long y'all know each other or anything like that, but give us some info on that.
Well, it's funny because I met Darius. It was a little bit before that, but not too long before that. I met Darius at a Hurricane Katrina benefit concert, and I went on stage, and it was really it was a time I had been on stage in a long time, and I had moved to Tacoma, and I lived there for a little while, and I didn't really connect with a group of people that I thought was let's just say in the same on the same level, right? And then like I had people that I connected with and talked to and all of that, but I didn't really have any real true friends. And I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's my Steelers chair behind me, and I had moved out there a little bit before that. And so I met Darius, and I had heard about Darius because I went and recorded with another Alex at Way Out Studios at the time, and I heard you got to link you up with these guys. I got to and so we were at the same benefit concert, and so I met Darius along with JT, who he mentioned a little bit earlier, and Sean, our other friend, Versatile, and really connected with them after they saw me perform, and they were like, "Yeah, we got to have you on the squad." But Darius, I always called him Lil Diddy, right? Because he was always like making moves. He was he was a part of the group, but he was the one making moves, right? And the businessman at the time, right? And a little bit more mature than I was at the time.
Like
and
Michael
so,
Bivins.
What's that?
Like Michael Bivins of New.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to Michael Bivins. I give him the Diddy. He was straight up Diddy. He was all about the business, right? And he was all about the way in which he was perceived, not just with us in the group and what we were doing, but just in general, right? He's a good dude, and I knew that right from the start. So, but yeah, that's where we connected. We were friends during that period of time. We had a little bit of a squabble.
You muted yourself, man.
Myself?
Yeah.
When did I mute myself? We back?
The squabble. Right after the squabble, you muted.
Oh, I guess I threw my hands down. I guess I hit the mute button. But we had a little bit of a squabble. But at the end of the day, we reconnected because we're men. And it was mostly me growing up and becoming a better person and doing that. So, but Darius is I've always looked up to who he was in the community. He's always doing great things in the community. I always watch him. I watch him to this day. I look on, I check Facebook or something, and I see he's making, we're gonna make it COVID songs, and he's always been that person, and so have a great deal of respect for this man. And when you told me, I said I got meetings today. I'm busy, and you told me what it was for. I was like, I'm going to cancel this other meeting and I'm going to join today. So
I appreciate you for coming on, AP, man. Like, I knew that you would be a good candidate to speak about this gentleman, because y'all was like two peas in a pod. Anytime y'all was doing shows, y'all was turning up and having a great time and just enjoying each other's company. And so I thought it was very, very important for me to reach out and say, hey, yo, let's surprise attack him,
Let me jump in for a minute too. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a man. I don't mind my emotions. I'm tearing up a little bit. But in all honesty, man, AP's being super kind about it. I mean, I won't go into all the details and incriminate myself, but music was a rough point in my life. There was a lot of stuff going on, and what I'm super appreciative of is people that could still see the real me through all the mess. You know what I mean? And like AP spoke on squabble and stuff like that, and he took blame for it, but that ain't the real story. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff I was going through and a lot of like life was seriously falling apart for me. Being completely honest, it was like waking up was like, okay, we got to go through this cycle again. Maybe I won't tomorrow and I can be done. Like that's just the real story. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of mess going on, but T.K.O, Still Standing, my crew, the people that have really lasted and that are still around, it was like watching them held me together. And they also gave, in that time in my life, they gave me purpose because I just wanted to see them win. You know what I mean? So like the business side that came into it was really, I worked for State Farm for 12 years. So it was like, let me take what I'm learning here and figure out whatever my boys need and let me try to create that. Even if it's at a place like Pounders, I'm gonna get our name on the reader board. And it's so corny looking back now because it's like,
Yeah.
hey guys, look, we're on the reader board. Let's all take a picture by it. You know, and it was a big deal at the time, but it's like, in all honesty, we weren't famous or anything, but I just wanted that feel so much for my boys because seeing them smile was part of what was holding me together. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, when we were doing that, we would do shows, and you know, we did a lot of shows for free, you know. But I remember, like at Pounders, we didn't pay for drinks. We didn't, you know, we got paid, you know, and it was like, you know, D behind the scene working pulling all the strings there. So no, I appreciate it. I was again, I think you're a heck of a man, and I've always been proud of you in everything that you've done. Right, you copped the 06 before 06, as someone once before, as someone once said. But he's always been pushing for great success for himself and for others. And now, you know, that he has, you know, his family, I see him out with his boys, shooting the rock and playing basketball. And, you know, I don't think he's ever beat me one-on-one, but well, you know, I don't know. But no, I'm so proud of you, man. So proud of you, D.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, real quick, guys, it looks like we got another person that popped in. Let's see who this is. I'm not really sure who this is. It says John. I'm not really familiar which one it is, but who's that?
I crashed this party.
All right, we got JT in the building. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? I'm driving, but I was gonna still try to jump in anyway, so I jumped in, but I am driving, so be patient with me.
Oh, it's all good, man. Hey, I was just talking about, you know, TKO times, and obviously, you know,
Okay.
you are a huge part of that whole ordeal. I mean, I met you through Darius, and Alex AP was just giving his insight on Darius and their relationship and the ups and downs and growing up and becoming men, and putting all that aside and just having a common agreement to loving one another regardless of the things that happen in life. Y'all have kind of a different type of relationship. You want to tell us a little about you guys' relationship?
Oh yeah, I hate the guy. Can't stand him. Well, you know, we grew up together. We grew up in the same cul-de-sac, same area. Our dads are similar, military brat, we're Army brats, and you know, we got to see the dark side of each other's personalities. We got to see the dark sides of and good sides of each other, and we also got to grow as men. And I think sometimes people, you know, they grow up and, you know, there's so many people that you grew up with that you were close with, but then now they're like strangers, you know? So it's important, it stands out when you grow up with somebody, but you're on your own separate journeys, but then you still have this connection that's still the same bond, and you're there to watch each other and help each other and sharpen each other and not judge each other through all the dark stuff that you've been through and all the positive things, not get jealous of each other, and if anything, helping each other grow. I've watched a lot of men like hate Darius, and I always thought it was weird. And it was because they were taking some of the things that were admirable about him and taking it as a competition instead of using it as a strength and as something to learn from. And I think in that aspect, him and I have learned from each other. You know, there's things that he does. We played on each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we recognized that early. And there's things that he did that I couldn't touch, and there was things I did that he couldn't touch. And we knew this, and we played on each other for that, relied on each other. And so having that admiration, you know, we were still competitive in a lot of other things like sports and basketball, and how I always dominated and destroyed him. But, you know, that's another topic. Anyway, so.
You're telling yourself that.
Anyway, so we were competitive about basketball. You know, sometimes he bested me, I bested him. And we had that type of, those are healthy competitions. But some people can be too competitive. When someone's too competitive, they start seeing the other person as a target, as an enemy, and you don't grow from that. You know, that's just toxicity in a person. Makes you be pernicious. And growing up and, you know, watching Darius struggle with, you know, his dad passing away and how he had to deal with that over a long course of his life, and watching it shape and transform him, and watching how the love of his dad, how he admired his dad so much. And you guys know, as men, especially as fathers, that's what we want from our kids. We want our kids to love and admire us like that, you know, and to the point where they honor that person every single day, you know. And so watching that added value to my life, you know, because of my dad as well. And Darius and I, we've helped shape each other in so many ways. There's just a lot of things people don't know. We've kept some of the dark secrets no one knows about, but we never judged each other. And that was important. Having that friendship and that bond, and never letting go of that. And to this day, when I went through my accident, you know, he was right there. And I mean, he was even handing me my urinal, right? How many of your friends are gonna help set up your urinal while you in bed? You can't move your arms or anything else.
Yeah.
How many of your friends gonna tell that?
Right.
I don't tell it. I don't tell it.
But yeah, and just having that bond, and I think that's so important, especially as men. You know, we live in a society where everybody targets each other, but fathers are really targeted more than anything, because fathers matter. Fathers matter. Their words matter. Their words are encouraging. A lot of times when you get boys in a household and mom says something, it doesn't affect them as hard as it does for that when a father speaks and says it. Not saying she doesn't have value, it's just that we excel in different areas. And I think that as men, sticking behind each other, backing each other, supporting each other, is super important, whether you know that man or not. And honoring people behind their backs is really important. That helps grow who you are and your value. And so I feel like I've got to grow with knowing Darius and his character and who he's grown to be, and his integrity, and how he's gone out of his way to help other people. And even those people didn't even see him doing it, they always wanted to fight him about it, but he still pushed through and carried on. You know, so it's always been a motivator for me. I can go on about that really, but I'll stop right there.
This ain't gonna be no, it can't be no celebrate Darius. It ain't my birthday.
No, but the thing is, you know, like I've told you plenty of times, man, I've never really met nobody that's anywhere remotely like you. Like you're a one of a kind. You know what I'm saying? You was always a light, and I've said it many times, and I'll continue to say it. Like I look up to you. Like I've always looked up to you. I watched the way that you have gone and done these forums and talked to these many people, whether you're wearing a suit or you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt, you always know how to deal with every situation the right way. And now I'm seeing it even more with your kids. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, like I admired you as an artist. And then once I started to see all the different layers of who Darius Alexander was, I was like, yo, I need to stay close to this person. You know what I'm saying? God put you in my life for a reason. And I learned so much about becoming an adult, becoming a better father. Because we all was in that, we was all going through that time when we were doing music and trying to figure out who we was. I was in those dumps too, you know, all those areas where you were in those corners and crying and not unsure of your next step, the next choice in life. I was right there with you. I remember those times, you know what I'm saying? Those couches we had to end up on when we couldn't go home. Yeah. We were going through that. I think all of us were there at one point. You know what I'm saying? And so to watch you, you know, evolve through the highs and the lows and become the person that you continue to be, I appreciate you, you know, man. For real talk, I appreciate you for everything that you've done in my life. And obviously these fellas here do as well. So I just wanted to, you know what I'm saying, kind of surprise you because, you know, we do this a lot. We talk a lot about everything, but I I just really wanted you to understand how important you are to my journey. And you know, I wanted to take it to a whole nother level. And so I wanted to bring these brothers on to kind of help me get you there. So uh
Well,
thank you guys. I appreciate y'all for coming on for real.
Thank you. Hey, JT, good to see you too, my brother. I
well,
went and did I went and got the JT cut too.
Me
Finally went
too.
ahead and
let
got
me
it done.
let me jump in, fellas, because you know I don't know any of you guys, and you know you seem like a hell of a group of guys, and you know I'm pretty sure I missed out on some good times, but I will tell you that during the course of this episode right here, I did feel like you ever go to a party with a friend of yours, you know, you don't know nobody, but your friend having such a good time, they just go off and leave you by yourself, but you don't really
Yeah.
trust nobody. So what I did was, you see, I took off my hat because I wanted y'all to see that I was in the light skinned bald head club too, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure, fellas. It was
Hey,
a
I'm gonna
pleasure.
get there one of these days. I mean, my wife's coming in
Step your game up, D.
Uh,
Step
I,
your game up, DH. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I tried it for a couple years, but then I was like, I like my hair. I'm gonna have to get my hair back. You know,
Now you the outsider, David.
that's okay. I've always been the outsider. Think about it. When I first met these guys, I was an R&B, a single R&B artist trying to make my way in the business. You know what I'm saying? I did tons of shows. Darius took me to all of his shows. There'll be 8 rappers, and then there'll be this one R&B cat. That'd be me. You know what I'm saying? I did that
Unique.
so many times, so I know what an outsider looks like. I've been there a lot of times, so I get it.
Well, it was a pleasure, man. Really, it was
Yeah.
a pleasure. We all gotta once Governor Inslee allow it, we need to get together and chop it up. I'd like to meet you guys in person.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Ditto.
Well,
All
thank
right, guys.
you
Take
guys. I
care.
appreciate you guys for coming on. We gonna get back to Darius a little bit and talk more about, you know, this thing called Black History and what it means to him and his fam. So thank you guys again. I'm gonna let y'all roll on out. If y'all want to sit in, y'all can sit in too as well. But let's talk, Darius.
Before you jump into the Black History Month, let me go back. One thing my mom taught me is don't block your blessings. So first of all, like I appreciate all the comments and everything. Like it's uplifting. Like it's reassuring that you're on the right path. And what I want to say is, I'm just always for me, I'm just a dude, and I just try to do the best I can because I made so many mistakes. But just like you see my boys come on here and you guys supported me and everything like that, but no person is an island, right? It takes, my mom always said it takes a village, and like for me, first and foremost, it was God that led me through any of that stuff and all that positive stuff that y'all saw. I don't even know how y'all saw that in some of those times, but first it was God, and then my mama, and then honestly who I am today, I gotta thank my wife for pushing me to go get the help that I needed, and I'll probably touch on it later. But mental health is a real thing, and my wife pushed me for, honestly, I wouldn't stay with me, but she pushed me for over a decade, saying you need to go get some help, you need to go talk to somebody. And when I did, um, I mean, I don't mind sharing it now. It's like I was diagnosed as being bipolar, and I pushed against getting the medication. And then once I did, I honestly feel like a completely different person. But I owe so much of who I am and the things that I'm blessed to be able to do now to other people, from, like I said, my family, my friends, co-workers, people that have inspired me. Um, so like I said, I appreciate it, and I just want to. I'm just a person trying to do what God wants me to do.
Amen. Amen. So real quick, before we move on to Black History, it looks like someone else is here. I'm not sure who this is, but you may have another guest that want to speak on you. Let's see who this is. Check 1, 2. Who is this? Are you there? Hello?
Hey,
Hello? Hello? Who is that?
can you hear me?
Okay. Is that Sean?
Yes, sir.
But on the
Hey,
whole
why don't
squad,
you hit your video, man? Start your video.
Man, you know I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I hit it. Can y'all see me?
There, I see you now. Hey, just so everybody know that's watching, that's Sean Bennett, aka Versatile, a part,
Good, everybody.
another intricate part of TKO. How you doing today, Sean?
Blessed, man. Super blessed. How are you guys?
Doing good. We was just finishing up the conversation about TKO and Darius and what he means to our lives, and so since you're here, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of your take on Mr. Darius Alexander and what he's meant to your life.
Okay. How long y'all got?
Make it short. Make it short. Make it short.
as, as far as TKO, he made TKO legitimate. He made it professional. He made it he took it serious when a lot of us guys didn't see what he saw. We were trying to have fun, and can't speak for the other guys. I was trying to meet women, and he saw something bigger, and took a while for us to catch up to his vision, but it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
As far as my relationship with him, I was thinking about this the other day. I randomly think about my brother, but you know, me and him were so opposite musically, um, but on the important things, we are, I believe, we're in sync. What we value, what we hold as important, as far as our family, our children, our parents, and it's just I'm so annoyed that we didn't hang out more on the personal tip. We hung out a lot on the music tip,
Yeah.
which is why we butted heads, because we were opposite musically, but on the important things, we're right in sync with each other. And I'm just kicking myself that we didn't hang out more personally as I got to know him, and see how he is with his kids, and that's how I am with mine. And it's just he's a good man. He's a great man.
For sure, for sure. So, did you guys have like a little spat somewhere along the line that I'm missing?
no, it's like you said, Verse was very hardcore rapper,
Right.
and I was I don't want to cuss, I don't want to offend nobody, I want to do all motivational and party music most of the time. So I mean that was really it, but there was a balance to everything, man. What he brought to the table gave us a whole different crowd. And all honesty, on the business side, brought in more money from what we were doing in the beginning. So I mean, there was a balance to everything, but it really was it was just the music side. But
Yeah.
anyways, it's like you said, we had a lot of stuff in common personally. And one thing I'm super appreciative of is when I put out that my sons were starting a business, he was the very first person to be like, bet I'm investing. Sent my boys $250, like right off the top. Didn't ask for nothing in return, nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like my boys got to hit him up and talk to him and thank him, and then we went down to Vegas and they got to meet him and thank him personally. But like, you do something for my boys. Like, I mean, we were already cool, but you do something for
Yeah.
my sons, and I'm gonna love you for life. You know what I mean?
For sure. For sure. Well, that's amazing. That's cool. I mean, support your kids. Anybody out there watching, like obviously Darius has said, his boys have something that they're doing big. Like he's wearing the shirt right now. If you want to explain a little bit more, just so the people that are watching know about it, please do share that with the people about their business.
So I try to teach my boys. Part of it was to grow up and not look for jobs, but try to create jobs for other people and create generational wealth for those that come after them, right? So we had this idea called Dream Big, Work Harder, because I mean, it's one thing to dream, and you can have all the dreams in the world you want, but if you don't get up and work for it, they're just gonna stay that just dreams, right? So
Yeah,
I
for
told
sure.
them there ain't no limit on nothing that they can do what they want to do. So that's where the dream big part comes from, and then the work hard to get up and go get it. I don't do a lot of hand holding. I do a lot of I'm gonna stand behind you and push you forward with my boys, just because I think good and bad thing is losing my dad. It gave me the reality that I may not always be here. So that's something I struggle with. Like I try not to paint that picture too much, but that was my reality. I had to learn a lot of things about being a man on my own because I pushed so many men in my life away.
Yeah.
So the name of the business is Dream Big, Work Harder. And then what they did is I was like, okay, so how can you help people from this? So they both sat down, and my sons now are 12 and 8. And when we started this, they were 10 and whatever the math is, 10 and 6. There you go. I suck at math. They went in their room and they talked, and they're like, okay, Dad, we want to give a portion of everything that we make to less fortunate people that don't have homes, people that are out in the cold. So it was cool to see them come up with it. And the first $100 they made, I was working in Federal Way, and there was a family that lost everything, and they were living in a shelter. And I told my boys about it, and they were like, we want to give everything to them. So I was like, you guys know. And so we went up there. They had their money. We went up there. We met with the family. I stood in the background. My boys gave the family the money, and it was like I couldn't be more proud of them for that. But I just try to teach them everything you do, there's a purpose behind it. So the website is idbwh.com. And right now it's like they help design everything. I kind of give them a little bit of guidance, but they have their own say on everything we do. Of course, like it had to be in my name, but I teach them the tax side of it. I teach them the application side to get the business license, all that stuff.
That's awesome. Anybody that's interested in supporting, we'll make sure that link is dropped into the comments at the end of this live feed. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate you for jumping on and just, giving your 411 on Darius. Please hit me up, man. We got to chop it up. I need to get down there.
Appreciate you, man.
Take it easy, Sean. Be careful, man. Driving. You and
Yeah, y'all need to get your eyes on the road.
I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm sitting in here.
Hey, y'all know I was with State Farm for a long time. Trying to be a good neighbor.
All right. Sean, you gonna sit in for a little bit? Sean?
He already jumped off.
Oh, he gone. John, you gonna sit in for a little bit? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. I do want to say one thing that was good about T.K.O. and everybody having their different styles and everything was that it made us versatile and made us stand out, because if you wanted a certain thing, it was like going into a store where they're selling only one sweatshirt, one color. Like we had different varieties of just style, and that was one thing that was great, especially going to other shows where the crowd didn't look like they were going to handle certain types of music, and to be able to say, okay, you're going to be the one that's going to be rocking this, and how we had to adjust. And then Darius would adjust right then and there and be like, okay, I'm going to have to go to my laptop and I'm going to have to make a different show that we're going to have to like go in the car, start practicing right here and there, because now we're going to change everything up because we got to cater to this. And it was good. It was good because that's how we sold albums and stuff too. Right. So that was the beautiful thing.
JT be leaving out pieces though. Most of the time when the crowd wasn't feeling us, like he said earlier, we had to play on each other's strengths. Most of the time they wouldn't be feeling us. We'd be up on stage next to each other. I hit them like, hey man, you're gonna have to take your shirt off and do some push-ups. That was the go-to every time. I was
That
like,
was crazy.
"AT, you got the flex on them."
I've been at a couple of those shows, JT. Don't lie.
That was crazy. It was crazy. Mayhem.
Yeah, but those were the days, man. Those were the days when we were young whippersnappers trying to figure out who we were and where we were going. Now we're old cats trying to, you know, leave a legacy for our children and anyone that is going to be here after us. So that being said, let's move on because I mean we're already at an hour and really it was supposed to only be an hour. So we'll keep going though as long as people are listening. Whenever you have to leave, Darius, obviously we'll obviously close up shop then. But I really wanted to at least touch on the Black History portion and you becoming a father and how important that is to your life. So your take on Black history. Obviously, you probably talked to your sons about it a little bit. What is a lot of the things that you have told them about Black History Month and what it should mean to them as they get older?
Just taking pride in who you are, and I think really the perspective I have to come from is one thing I always say is like we have to understand yesterday to understand where we are today to understand how to get to where we're trying to go. So that's pretty much that's really where it came from. My mom instilled in me at a young age of understanding the backstory of why we go through what we go through, right? So I'll just say that I believe in all people, right? You know what I mean? Like I want like we all have something to bring to the table. Like God made us who we are for a reason. Yeah. I also respect every single culture. So with my sons, it's like I want them to understand where they come from because that's our history. And for me, I can't trace it back too far. I can trace it back to South Carolina, but I don't know where in Africa we come from or if we come from Africa or anything like that. You know what I mean? So and it's like I'd like to know real history. And one thing I painted is like my last name is Alexander. That ain't no African name. Let's be real. No. It's Alexander. It sounds Russian or something. You know what I mean? So it's like let's get the real history of understanding where we're at. But then that also plays into all the scenarios I explained before because I understood history. I've been able to navigate those difficult times when my race becomes an issue. You know what I mean? A lot of the work I do right now is on equity and helping people understand intent versus impact and how to move the needle forward and everything. Because I have a grasp on, I won't say I know everything, of course, but because I have a grasp on history, I know what it's like when I walk into situations and I'm like, okay, I'm the only Black dude in here and I know how the system works a little bit. So how can I navigate this system? Mm-hmm. Teach a lot of kids. It may sound negative, but I teach a lot of kids and my sons to play the game so that you can get a seat at the table, right? I heard one time that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. One of my good friends and mentors, Derek Wheeler Smith up in Federal Way when I was working there, taught me that. So it's like, how do you understand history to know how to play the game now so that you can get a seat at the table? And so one way of that is we don't set the standards of what success looks like is set for us, right? Mm-hmm. So we talk about success, we talk about business, we talk about all those things, we talk about educators, administrators. Normally what you people expect is button-up shirt, some slacks, suit coat, tie, all that kind of stuff. When I was working in insurance, that ain't me. That just has never been me. I'll put on a suit if I'm taking my wife out or something like that, or if I want to take some cool selfies, but going to work and for 8 hours in a suit, that's just not me. One situation I had when I was there was I was told once that to get into leadership, I need to learn how to talk like, walk like, and look like the people that are in the middle of this box of leadership, right? So think about Fortune 500 insurance company. What does it look like in the middle of that, right? And so then I had a choice of either conform to that or take the harder road. And for me, I was just like, well, as long as I'm in this box, the next person that comes along that looks like me will see that they can get in this box. So I'm willing to take that hit. So it took me an additional 6 years to get to where I want to be. And again, I don't knock nobody on any of that. They were giving me good advice. But it took me 6 more years to get to where I wanted to be. And what I've learned is when you play the game a little bit and you have to conform to what success looks like in our country, you can get in the door and then you can flip it up and switch the game a little bit, right? So I think one of the coolest things in my position now is when I first went in, I interviewed in a bow tie. I'm all suited up and everything. The earrings come off and everything. I make sure I'm super proper in those situations. And then once I get in, I understand that there's mutual respect here. Then the Jordans start coming out. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't get name brand shoes as a kid, so I have a huge shoe collection, and I let that be a talking piece. Of going to meetings, they'd be like, "Oh, what shoes does Darius have on today?" Like it's just a way to build relationships for me. But the other piece that it showed is for my sons and people that come after me is you can be successful looking exactly like what the world is going to characterize as a banger or a thug or whatever other stereotype comes along with it. I do that on purpose for the young people that I work with because I want them to see that you can get here too. And yes, you have to play the game, but you can change the game at the same time.
Yeah, for
You know what I
sure.
mean? So it's like I'm gonna make sure I look decent, but I'm gonna rock my hoodies. I'm gonna
Right.
rock some joggers. I'm gonna rock some Jordans. I'm gonna be professional, and I'm gonna get the job done so that my kids can come up and do it after me.
Yeah.
So all that ties into understanding history and where we came from and who's defining what success looks like.
That's good. Good words. I like that. I like that. So, do you remember this picture?
Oh yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it. I just found it and I just thought it was really interesting. Do you
Oh,
remember that day?
oh yeah. That's I remember that day mostly because that was my first paid speaking engagement. So I was 13 years old. I started giving the "I Have a Dream" speech at church when I was 7. So then like every year I would do it, and then one of the guys at the church, he was going to PLU, so then he hired me to come out and give the speech. And the main thing I remember, man, when it goes back to being a father and all that stuff, I remember looking out of those curtains, 13-year-old kid, and I had to give the entire speech.
Yeah.
Not read it, I had to memorize the entire speech and give it. I looked
Wow.
out in the curtains and I saw that packed auditorium, and I was about to pass out. Like eyes rolled back in my head. I leaned up against the wall, and my dad was backstage with me, and he just held me up and he was like, "You're built for this. You got it. I'm gonna be right here when you're done."
Yeah.
Uh, so then I went out there and did it, and it was crazy. When I was done, like I don't remember speaking, but I remember the ovation at the end. Right, people are clapping. I go backstage, and my dad just gives me a hug. That's really all I really remember about it is that, and then the paycheck. It was only $50, but for a 13-year-old, the paycheck was
A
still
13-year-old. That's
whatever.
good money for a 13-year-old.
Um, and it's just like I just honestly believe that God does things on purpose. What's crazy is that's when I was 13. And if you look at the names on there, Crystal Aiken, all
Powerful
went
people.
to PLU. 5 years later, after I give this speech, I'm at PLU as a student.
Yeah.
And then in 2013, I ended up performing at the Tacoma Dome with a band called Ben Union, and they become like family to me.
Yeah.
Performed there to a rock band, and I'm giving the "I Have a Dream" speech over some rock music again, and Crystal Aiken was also on that card performing. And
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
how crazy is that? That this was all. It was like God already had a plan. He already knew what was going
Already.
to go on, even through all the mess that I told you guys about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
So,
powerful, man. That's crazy. Shout out to Crystal Aiken and freaking shoot the Watson family. Shoot. Shout out to the Watson family as well. But that's powerful, man. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I know this would tie into um, fatherhood with your dad around to you being a father now. How do you what tips have you picked up that you use that you remember when your dad was here and that you're incorporated into what you're doing now as being a father?
um, just all boils down to being there, respecting who they are as individuals, and not making it about yourself. You know, in all honesty, in the beginning, like when my oldest son was born, I was terrified. And
Yeah.
when my wife, we planned everything out, but I told my wife, I was like, I'm terrified. I'm like, especially if we have a boy, because I don't want to live vicariously through my son. And what I mean by that is like I felt like if I had a son, I would pretend like my son was me and like I was my dad. You know what I mean? So it's like I was terrified of doing a disservice by doing that, because there was so much stuff that I missed and so much stuff that I wanted to have in my life. So in all honesty, it was like I just didn't want to be close to anybody. So in the beginning, in all honesty, I was one of those kind of parents that it was, I don't keep a lot of promises, but I'll buy you stuff. I did a song one time and I was like, they really want your presents while you're buying presents. You know, that's really just how I lived. And my son told me one time, like, my oldest boy just always been wise beyond his years. And I promised him I was coming home to play with him. I was like, I'll be home in 15 minutes. I get home like 3-4 hours later, and he's sitting on the stairs. And I talk to him. And I'm like, hey, man, are you sad? Are you upset? And he's like, no, I expect you not to do what you say.
Wow.
And I was just like, well, damn. You know what I mean? And then I said I was still going through it, trying my hardest to be the best man I but I was failing at it. And then I think it was about 6 years ago. In all honesty, I went to church and I prayed. And I'm just gonna give the real story. I don't hold punches. Your story is your story. I honestly tried to drink away all my pain and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It was like on the surface, I was doing a good job at work when I was in corporate America. I was doing a good job working at schools and everything like that. And then I would get out of that after preaching to kids about purpose and your story and perseverance and stuff. I was getting out of those things and being like, I don't want to wake up tomorrow. I am tired of hurting, you know? And so I went to church. I had a bottle of vodka in my trunk and I stood in the stands by myself. And I just was like, God, either you take away this pain or I'm done. I'm done when I leave here. And I am not joking. The worship team started playing the song, I think it's by Chris Tomlin, You're a Good Father. And part of my prayer was like, I'm tired of missing my dad. I'm tired of failing as a dad. You either give me something or I'm done. And that song came on, it seriously felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulder. It was like all the pain and everything was gone. And what I heard in that song was, first of all, the confirmation that I'm a good dad and I have the opportunity to be a good dad. Secondly, that I had a great dad and gave me everything that he could in the 17 years that he could. And then also that God was a good dad and that he was going to hold me down. You know what I mean? So it was like, I seriously left there, threw away the bottle of vodka. I ain't drank. I have no desire to drink since then. And I really just committed myself to trying to make my wife happier and being the best dad I could be, regardless of all my fears of the closer we get, if something ever happens to me, the more pain it's going to give them. You know, like that's always been one of my fears. But now what drives me is I just want to give them memories. I'm going to give them everything I can. I use every part of who I am so that they can stand on my shoulders, so that their kids can stand on their shoulders later on. So it's like, that pushes me when I don't want to go to work. It pushes me when I don't want to DJ or do speaking events or whatever it might be to bring in more money to take care of my family. It's like, I wake up to be like, first of all, set that example. You can't put me in no box. I'm going to rap a little bit. I'm going to DJ a little bit. I might do a speaking engagement. I might have put on a Thor costume. I might put on a rabbit costume. I'm going to go to work and speak to kids. I'm going to do every single thing I can to tell my kids, you don't ever have to be in a box and you can do whatever you want to be to go be successful. So it's like, they are my driving force for everything. Even when I choose the jobs that I have, one part of it is, can my kids come to work sometimes? Yeah. You know, I want other people to see what being a father looks like, but I also want my sons to see how involved I am in their lives and that I support them in anything. So, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead, D.
It also goes into like their activities and stuff they do, right? My oldest boy is an athlete. He's always just loved basketball and football, and now it's just basketball. And it's like, at first I didn't want to coach. I didn't want to do any of that kind of stuff. Basketball dreams had died for me in early in high school and stuff. You know what I mean? But it was like, okay, how can I figure this thing out for him? How can I figure out how to be a good coach? How can I learn the game more? How can I bring back that passion that I have? And pushing him the best way I can. And it's cool because he does his thing in hoops and he pushes himself hard, and he's always the smallest guy out there, but he's also one of the most recognized guys out there. And it's not the skill that I'm proud of, it's his work ethic and pushing through of being the smallest guy, getting beat up, going from not being able to do anything to going to middle school and almost averaging a triple-double, right? And then for my youngest boy, it's like, he's into gymnastics and acrobatics, right? He got on YouTube and watched parkour and was like, I'm gonna jump off of everything. I'm doing the backflips. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I can't coach none of that. I can't model none of that, but I can stand outside by that trampoline and watch you do the flips that you're showing me. We got a gymnastics bar in my gym outside. Go downstairs. He teaches me his flips. Anything that they want to do, that's what I'm going to support. When it comes to being a father, I'm not trying to direct them any kind of way. I try to cater to their personalities.
That's awesome.
If I could just jump in.
Chuck, you had something you want to say?
Yeah. I find it interesting that the conversations have geared back to we talking about fatherhood, you know, and I'm pretty sure that that's something that everybody that's been here today can relate to. Me personally, I didn't have a father in the home, you know, and so I spent the majority of my life, as far as I thought, hating my father, you know. But the beautiful thing about it was that, you know, when I became a father myself, all I wanted to do was to not make my children feel like my father had made me feel, right? And then one day I heard something very interesting that blew my mind. It was real simple. And it was that every man's life is dictated by his father, because he either want to grow up to be exactly like his father, or he doesn't want to be anything like his father. But it's your father that set you on those particular paths. Ain't that deep?
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm. It's
What
somewhat true.
one of the things I appreciate about my dad, and I really had to process through. That what you said is exactly what it was like. And I remember my dad was huge into making sure his yard was immaculate. And when I was 22, I remember cutting my backyard, and like I have bad allergies. I hated doing yard work growing up. And I was like in the middle of the yard, and I was like, I am not Horace Alexander. I'm Darius Alexander. I hate this. And I left the lawn in the middle of the yard. Backyard looked like a war zone. But then what I got to was my dad always said, don't be like me, be better than me. And so that's kind of what guides my life now. Of my dad, like I love my dad. My dad was a great man. At his funeral, it was cool hearing all the people that he had helped out. And somebody said he would give the shirt off his back and everything. And I'm like, I can really respect that. But I also have no problem saying my dad was not perfect. And there were things that I don't want to be like in my dad. And there were things that I was following in his footsteps into where I'm like, I still hear that voice being like, don't be like me, be better. And even on the good stuff, be better. So that's where I try to take my boys, my 8-year-old. We went on a walk the other night. Like Devin just loves creative stuff. So we went on a walk the other night, and we're pretending like we're superheroes, and then we just start talking. And we were talking. He was asking me about racism. My 8-year-old was asking me about racism and being like, "Dad, how do you get rid of racism?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. What do you think?" And he's just like, "You have to talk to people, because just because somebody looks different doesn't mean that they hate you or that you should hate them. You have to talk to them because they might like gymnastics and parkour too." And I was like,
Yeah.
my man, already working on being a better man than I am at a younger age, you know? Yeah.
That's pretty awesome though, man. But he's proud of his environment. He's got a great dad teaching him, giving him proper tools to learn these things at a young age. So when he gets older, he'll be better,
Yeah.
and he'll do better. So yeah. Hey, I think we're. Do you got anything else that you would like to say, Chuck or John?
Yeah, I do. I want to say
Are
that.
they froze?
Am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I
You
can hear
can
you
hear me.
now.
I do want to say that.
Yeah, you good.
I realize that no matter what, even when it comes to racism or any other type of hatred that comes our way, that you really got to focus on the good, like no matter what. And I realize that you can't win them all. You just can't win them all. I just thinking about Jesus and Judas. Jesus knew the way Judas was. He knew, and he knew that he was going to betray him. Even though he even walked with Jesus, saw him do miracles and everything, Jesus still didn't win him over. You can't win them all. And that, for me, thinking about that, Jesus was supernatural, and he couldn't win all the people, even those that he fed, and they watched him make a miracle out of bread. He's passing out a loaf of bread to 5,000, and just even watching that, and they just wanted him just for the food, because now they don't even look at the miracle. They're like, oh, he's feeding me, and he's feeding me for free. You can't win them all, no matter what. God couldn't win them all. Jesus couldn't win them all. It don't matter who's against you, even if it's like own family members. It could even be your kids. You can't win them all. You just have to keep doing what you're doing and stay on that path, because the moment you don't, it's like that's when the enemy takes the opportunity to start eating you up inside. And if you start getting eaten up inside, then your leadership role becomes dangerous. There's a story, I have to tell you this, about Elijah. He was walking through this town, and 42 boys, which were pretty much considered men, like they were like probably 30 years old or so. And they were kept making fun of him. They were making fun of the wrong guy. So Elijah was powerful in the hands of God. And they were calling him Baldy. Baldy, Baldy, as he's going through the town. And this is a story really about leadership and what not to do, even though it'd be something some of us would want to do. But the moment he got mad, 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 boys to death. And it wasn't like a story of, oh man, that's dope, he destroyed them. Well, I mean, you could be talking to one of your enemies or something, somebody you can't stand, when you like to just have tons of bees just come out of nowhere and just sting them up. Like, you know who you dealing with, you know? But it was like he lacked that humility, and he lost control, and he used his power for something that he shouldn't have done. And it showed that. And I think that a lot of times, even with anybody that's in some type of leadership role, it's so easy to get our game thwarted when we let something eat us up inside. And you see that right now within the world. It's the spirit of offense. People are getting offended constantly, and it's hard. It's really hard because some things are personal. Well, a lot of us are under personal attacks and stuff, and just staying that path because you can't win them all. You can't win them all. Focus on the good. Focus on the people that love and respect you now, even if it's just one. It could just be one person in your life that loves and respects you. They know your heart. They know who you are, and just focus on that, even if there's 7 other people that dislike you, you know? I just think I wanted to add that. I think that's important.
For sure, definitely. I appreciate those words from John. Chuck, anything else you would like to say before we close up shop?
No, I don't have anything to say. Just to add, I just want to say thank you guys for coming out. Sorry for my delay in getting here in the beginning, Darius, but I truly appreciate you coming on, man, and just listening to comments from everybody else. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that you're a good guy. You know what I'm saying? So, good work, man. And John, thanks for coming in, man. I know you're driving, and much credit on them driving skills, because I would have been all over the road trying to talk and drive, hit
And
the
Chuck,
light,
and Chuck, John only got one arm too.
Oh,
So, like, what? How is he driving? What is he doing to drive?
well, I'm more impressed at the way he was eating. You putting in work.
I'm trying to manage. I'm trying not to kill nobody.
No, but yeah, thank you so much, Darius, for spending a little bit of time with us here at Circle Talk. Myself, Chuck, we definitely appreciate you as a person, not just a man, but a father, a friend, and a brother in Christ. Man, like I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. Like, you're one of my all-time faves. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do any conversations without talking about our relationship. I got plenty of songs that get replay in my car, and I don't even have a CD player anymore. So I had to download it to my iPhone, and I have plenty of songs that make me think back to all the good times that we had. You know what I'm saying? And like, I appreciate you. I always appreciate you for everything that you do, and I'm sure everybody that came on feels the exact same way. You're a great dude, and I wish you all the best with your family. Shout out to Monica for getting you right when she did, because I remember, y'all was having some situations, and you was like, you called me a couple times, and you was like, man, I'm on the couch today. But she got you right, man, and I'm glad she did when she did, and I wish you guys the best. I love you, and yeah, thank you again for coming on with us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate y'all, and thinking closing, keep doing what y'all doing. You guys are building. Chuck, I appreciate you. David, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
one conversation at a time. And anybody that's listening, anybody that listens to this later on, I don't care if it's race, politics, gender, whatever it might be. The more we can look for the good in people, like JT was saying, and the more we can just have that one conversation, it's like that ripple effect, right? Throw a pebble in the water, and it's going to impact the whole ecosystem.
Amen.
So even when it doesn't feel like it's going right, you're planting seeds. You guys are planting seeds right now with these conversations and the people that you're bringing on. I've been watching, and this is how we make change.
Yes. Amen. That's what we about. We about change. We just want to love one another. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. And that's we just loving one another right now. And hopefully, everybody out there is enjoying this. And hopefully, you enjoyed yourself today. We are going to be back next week. I think we got DJ Tabor next week. Mr. Donald Tabor will be on next week. We're gonna have a sit down conversation with him. So if you guys are free, make sure you guys are here 11 a.m. next Friday.
Yeah, 11. We just gonna sit around in a circle and talk.
So on behalf of myself, Chuck Marlowe, Darius, John, we appreciate you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week. All right.
All right.
Peace.
All right. Later.